say, well, I guess first and foremost, I guess engagement could be producing, but engagement, at least like our newer agents trying to produce before they're actually doing the sales, coming into the office, taking part in the trainings, so on and so forth, coming to our company events and whatnot. I would say that is engagement.
Yeah, that's really good. Like agents coming into the office when you're having meetings or trainings, that's how you can tell that they're in it to win it, right? Even if they're not producing yet. What are some other ways? Who else has some ideas about what does agent engagement look like? Especially now with COVID happening. I mean, I feel like we've had to adjust. Not everybody is allowed to go into an office environment right now. So what does engagement look like as far as that goes?
I think for me, it's all about what is their experience. You know, we talk to agents about the experience of their clients. So as leaders, what are our agents' experience? You know, what does the club that they are part of look like? What types of things does that club bring to their world?
Yeah, right. And are they sharing it, right? Are they sharing it with others? Laura
Right.
says sharing company content, participating in events, even if they're online. Yeah. So what is the club that they're in, right? And how are they expressing it, and how are they showing that to the rest of the world, right? That's how we can tell if they're engaged. So what if there's a lack of engagement? What does that feel like or look like? And I know we've all felt this, so don't feel like you have to be embarrassed or anything to share, because it's common. There are always agents who don't engage. What does that look like?
The exact opposite of everything we just talked about.
So for example, the agent maybe doesn't show up to meetings, doesn't go to Zooms, doesn't share the company message or vision, right? What about for you as a leader? Prison mentality, blame and complain. Yeah, that's true. So Laura, what you're talking about is like a victim mindset, right? So they're blaming others for the fact that they're not producing. And that's typical for agents who are not engaged. So if the agent isn't engaged, are they answering your phone calls? You, the broker, their leader? Are they answering your phone calls? Are you reaching out to them? What does that look like? Sometimes maybe they're ghosting you, right? Just not showing up. Or maybe setting meetings with you because they feel like they have to, but then, oops, missing it or forgetting it. It happens a lot. How is the rest of your office impacted by the agents who are not engaging? Would you say that the rest of the agents are impacted at all?
I think they definitely are.
How so?
I think they start questioning why others, let's just use the word performance, or the engagement is different than theirs. Why is it not consistent? Why are there people missing out? I think it just builds an environment of questioning, and then they start seeking answers, and sometimes those answers are outside of your brokerage, with another brokerage that has higher engagement.
Yeah, if you're tolerant of an agent who's not engaged, right? Then what are you saying to the agents who are engaged? What they're going to start questioning, why do I have to go to the office meeting when that person never comes? And they're still the top producer every month, or et cetera, et cetera. So it can impact your other agents who are engaging when the disengaged agents don't show up to things. How does it impact you as a leader? As the leader of your office, when the agents aren't engaging in what you're putting effort and energy into, how does that impact you?
Can I chime in for just a second?
Yeah, of course.
I was going to say, back to your other question, it also impacts the agents who are brand new when your more experienced agents aren't engaging, because they don't get an opportunity to learn from, feed off of, get anything from the agents who are actually doing things. They're keeping that to themselves because they're so disengaged from what's happening in the office. So they're not setting an example. They're not teaching the others. So I think it works in reverse too. The new people don't, get to benefit from the other people who kind of remove themselves or retract from being engaged in the office. I think for me, in your question, how does it make you feel? I put a lot of time and energy into planning events, in preparing for classes, in, pouring into them. And so when they're disengaged, I feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like, what I'm offering must not be of value, even though I know that's not true, because there are people who are engaged in it. But I start to feel defeated.
It can be very discouraging because you're pouring your heart into this, right? This is your baby, your brokerage, your office, your group of agents. These are your babies. So you're pouring your heart and soul into this and giving it all of your energy. If they're ignoring you, that feels awful. It's very discouraging. And then it makes you wonder, like, why am I even doing this, right? We used to have a saying, I used to teach before I sold real estate and before I started coaching. And when I was a teacher, we would have like an after school study hall, which was always optional. And it was an extra hour out of our workday. We weren't getting paid extra or anything, but we were doing it for the good of the students because, we had the heart of a teacher. We wanted to help. And we had this saying that even if one student even shows up, we'll stay and we'll give it all of our effort. And I think it's very similar with brokers and trainers and leadership of offices in real estate. It's like if one agent even shows up, I'm going to give it my all because that agent could be the next top producer, right? We don't know, but we're going to pour into them. But it's so discouraging if you have an office of 10, 20, 50 agents and there's only a handful that show up. So we're going to talk today a little bit about how to change that and how to create a different kind of culture of engagement and productivity.
Hey,
So-
Chris,
Can I have it?
that-
Sorry.
Yeah, both of you.
Well, real quick, something that Laura said sparked something in me. It also impacts the experienced agents through their lack of development. I mean, oftentimes if the experienced agents are in there doing the training and things of that nature, then they themselves are developing their skills as leaders and
Yes.
presenters. And so it actually can be a detriment to the experienced agents by not having that development piece.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They're not growing. They're going to hit that ceiling and they won't ever surpass it. TJ, were you going to say something?
I think that like with COVID right now, a lot of we barely ever have people come to our team meetings the last few months. And I think a lot of it has to do with COVID. Pre-COVID, we had, an immense amount of engagement. So I do think that there's some, macroeconomic factors to it as well, not just brokerage issues.
Tons. But TJ, you did a really good job, like even at the beginning of COVID, of keeping the whole team together. Like, if you want to share about like the trivia night, share about the trivia night, because I feel like that was a really big success.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just exactly what you said. We had people come in. One of our agents offered to put together a trivia night, and we got a bunch of booze and ordered a bunch of pizza, and people came in. And granted, our office is very large to the point where we can all social distance accordingly. But that was.
But you did a Zoom trivia night too, though.
Yeah, true. We did that as well. We would do Zoom happy hours and stuff. But I guess so in that regard, they were engaging when we were able to do stuff virtually. But right now, when our office actually is open and we're doing in-person meetings, it's just, there's been 5, 6 to 7 maybe, and we have 59 agents.
So we have to be careful as leadership, because when the agents start to disengage, it's just like what Chuck said, this is when the agents are being lured by other companies, right? The big boxes, this is when they hit recruiting hard this time of the year. And so to keep our back door closed, right? And to keep our circle of agents tight, we need to make sure that we're focused on keeping them engaged. So, and it's a problem this time of year because there's Christmas and Thanksgiving and all the holidays, and now we have COVID. I mean, engagement is like at an all-time low everywhere. So it's not just you, TJ, or anybody, it's everywhere. So let's talk about the agents though, who maybe are on the fence about leaving, right? So the agent who's not attending team meetings, they're not going to the office trainings, whether this is Zoom or in person, okay? They're ignoring calls and texts. The agent who hasn't closed a transaction in 3 or more months and also ghosting you, this is an agent who is in jeopardy of either probably getting out of real estate altogether or being recruited to another brokerage. If they're a victim mindset, or they're engaging in office drama, or if they're late paying their bill or their board dues, this is an agent who you might not want on your bus anyway. And I don't say that lightly. It's to be taken really seriously. Even if it's a top producing agent, the agent who takes your culture and turns it into something toxic, they need to be taken off your bus, right? So, so 1 through 4, these signals of disengagement, these are possibly either agents who are discouraged, they're not sure how to navigate through COVID, you know, they just maybe need a little extra love from us as their leaders. The agents who fall under number 5 and 6, these are the agents who need to have a firm come to Jesus conversation, okay? They can either change their ways, work on their mindset. We have lots of tools for that. Or they can exit your brokerage, because the more toxic the environment gets, the more at risk you are of losing more agents. Does that make sense? Okay. So what are some other signs of agent disengagement that you've seen? Does anyone have any other major red flags that they've seen in their own office environments that weren't on the slide? Okay, then I'm going to move on. Okay, so let's talk about being intentional about increasing the engagement. So now we've talked about the really somber stuff, right? The agents who aren't engaged, they're not doing well, maybe they need to leave. Now let's talk about how can we positively impact them as a group of leadership, as their independent leader. How can you impact these agents? Number 1 is holding them accountable, right? So if you haven't had a conversation with every agent at your office about what is your goal for the year, for real estate in general, what is their big why, what is their motivation, what's driving them to succeed? If you haven't had that conversation, you have to have that conversation immediately. It's the number 1 key factor. People don't leave because of money. They leave because they're not feeling connected to the leadership. So accountability. If you know your agent's motivation and you know what their goal is, it's a simple phone call. Hey, I'm just checking in on you. I know that your goal this year was to beat your numbers last year. You're almost there. What can I do to help you? Right? It's just something to make sure that they're on track and that they're accountable daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is. After you've made that call, the accountability call, it's keeping them in momentum, keeping them in action. I have a real push right now to all of my broker partners to have their agents make 5 calls a day. If they're having 5 real estate conversations every day and they only have a 2% conversion rate, that equals 25 sales in a year. That's ridiculous, right? That changes an agent's life. Now all of a sudden they're floundering from whatever it was they were selling before to being a top producer. So, and that's 5 conversations at a 2% conversion rate. So it's keeping them in action, and to keep them in action, all you have to do is send them a text. Hey, which 5 people did you talk to today? It could even be, you could be teasing them, right? Like I'm just going to be so obnoxious. I'm going to remind you every day to have 5 conversations. And they could roll their eyes and laugh or whatever, but then guess what? Then they know that TJ cares. TJ texts me every single dang day, right? It doesn't matter, because then they know you care. So it's keeping them in action, keeping the momentum going, and then the presence of community. If they are in action and they have the momentum going, what's the number 1 thing that you can do to keep them feeling that high? Who has an idea?
Recognition and shout outs.
Yeah, exactly. Shout them out, right? Humble brag about them on Facebook. You guys, this agent is making 5 phone calls every single day. You could say that inside your private Facebook group for your agents. This agent is making their calls. They just put 2 houses under contract. They just got a listing down the street who wasn't even going to sell until next year, right? Whatever it is, show that they're doing really well within their community of agents. Whoop. And they will, I mean, it's going to keep them on that high and keep them in momentum. And then it's just strength of leadership. You have to be there when they need you, right? I mean, the double-edged sword of leadership is that we also are deal doctors, right? So we're pushing our agents and we're pushing them to get out of their comfort zone and to do more and to bump up their production and to be, hit their goals and be the agent they want to be. But they're going to hit bumps in the road, and they're going to call us and they're going to say, how do you write this contract? Or what do you think about this home inspection? I mean, sometimes we have to be the deal doctors, and that's just the balance act that we do as leaders. So what are the benefits of increased agent engagement? The culture of your office remains positive because everybody's productive, right? They're engaged, they're showing up to things, they're responding to you, they're responding to each other. When an office full of agents has a good positive culture and they're all engaged, the brand unity is there, right? We're Acropolis agents, we're Porter Plus agents. This is who we are, right? This is what we do. I can expect a Prince & Associates agent over there to do the same service that Prince & Associates agent over there is doing, because it's brand unity. We work together, we collaborate, we have the same culture, right? It goes into the community. Then they're productive. They're feeding off of each other's energy. It's a whole thing. And the retention, I mean, you'll never lose an agent. If everyone's engaged and they're helping each other and you're helping them, and it's one hand washes the other. No one can break that barrier, right? Howard, Hannah, Coldwell Banker, they're going to call your agents and their agents are going to go, nope, bye. They don't want to hear it because they're going to love where they're at. So here's a scenario. You have 10 agents that have not engaged recently. Okay, so using your average sale price and commission, if those 10 agents close 1 additional transaction in the next 90 days. So let's say they write an offer this month, okay, and it closes 60 to 90 days. What would be the agent's gross commission, and what would your company's gross revenue be? So you can take a minute to do this math on your own using your own average sale price. I did the math based on 200,000 because that's like right around where my average sale price is. So, but you do the math for yours, and let's say, just to show you what it came out to for me, at an average sales price of 200,000 with an average commission of 2.8%, which typically they're higher, but I know in some places it can get down to 2 or 2.5. So like North Carolina, I think is like 2.1 or something like that. But 2.8, I just rounded, I averaged. And then you've got a company revenue of 30%, which is typical is 20 to 30%. That gives the agent gross commission $5,600. That gives you as the company $1,680. That's for one deal. So if you take 10 of your disengaged agents and you get them engaged and they each write an offer that gets accepted this month, that's an extra $16,000 for you. Does that make sense? So, and that's just for making, what, 10 phone calls? Hey, how are you doing? I noticed you haven't written a deal in a few months. How can I help you? Right? So engagement is essential. Does anyone have numbers? Did anybody actually like crack this out? Are anyone's numbers different from mine?
Mine were pretty similar. Mine was 15,000, just based on a 20% revenue and a 250 sales price. But
that's great. And what can you do with $15,000 for your company, right? I mean, that's a whole lot of money that you could pour back into your agents if you wanted to. So, retention strategies. When we're talking about engagement and retention, we talked about agent events. What are some other ideas? I really want to brainstorm around this since you're here and since we're in COVID and I don't think it's going anywhere. right now. What are some agent events that we can host that don't involve face-to-face public spaces? Like TJ talked about having the Zoom trivia night or the Zoom happy hour.
The trivia night was awesome. I would suggest all of you guys do that. We outsourced it to a company that came in and they set it all up. We all went into breakout rooms. It was an absolute blast.
It was
And
really
it
successful.
wasn't super expensive either, if I remember correctly.
Do you remember what the company was?
No, but I can find it.
Cool.
Let me actually. I'll go into my email right now and see if I can find it quick.
I know at the locker room we did a cook-off. So, and it was not intended to be this way, but everyone cooked their own dish, special dish. And then my children were the judges. Like, so we all Zoomed, shared the dish, shared the recipe. You know, we didn't get to taste it. That was the only thing, but it was still kind of cool. And you got different ideas for new recipes, which was great. And then the kids judged. So of course they picked, like, Brent, I don't remember who won. Do you remember who won?
I don't remember who won, but I came in second.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Did you have tacos?
No, I had a hamburger salad. I think they liked all the cheese.
So too. I think the winner was Nathan with tacos, maybe. So I think it was tacos who won. And we had some locker room coaches who are really good in the kitchen. Like, I think Jody made some pork wrapped mashed potato thing and really, really exquisite dishes. And my kids chose hamburger salad and tacos as the winner. But it was fun. You know, it was just something fun to do where we were all together. We were doing something other than work, and it was fun. So any other kind of agent event that you can think of, a way to get the agents together, not in person?
I think masterminds really work well. I mean, if there's a topic that's a general topic of conversation around the team or around the organization, then just get people together and talk out loud about it. That can go a lot towards community. And also, it's not a presentation, it's more of an engaged conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even, whoops, what did I just do? Yeah, even to just have the conversation around things that are really relevant in today's market, right? So it doesn't have to be a super high level training conversation. It could just be something along the lines of, like, you know, how are you keeping your clients safe right now? Or how are you showing houses without spreading germs, or any kind of thing like that?
Door knocking during COVID.
Door knocking.
There's a lot of people that are having a lot of success in door knocking right now because people are home. Yet, how do you do it safely, and how do you get around that mindset?
It's actually illegal with it where we are. We're not allowed to.
Yeah.
One of my brand new agents just came in today and said he was out door knocking and he was going back out to do it, and he's had some crazy success this week doing it, which is not the norm in our area, but it is right now. So okay.
I put the website in the chat, sporkle.com. It was $150. So
oh, that's awesome.
It was not expensive, and it was a 2-hour live trivia thing that we did.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, that's great. I know now, like, a lot of people are planning Christmas parties, and it's kind of up in the air. Like, are we doing them? Are we not doing them? Should we not? Do you wear a mask? It's like crazy. So, so any kind of agent event, though, where the agents can be fully present, not look at their phones for half an hour, and just engage with each other, right? Those are the meaningful meat and potatoes of your brokerage, really, when it comes down to it. And then you've got the team meetings. I would say with team meetings, consistency is the key. From what I have observed, when your office has team meetings on a consistent basis, like every other week or the first Monday of the month, or whenever there's a routine, the engagement is higher than if it's just random. Okay, so, and this is, again, just what I've observed, and I can't say it's 100% accurate, but it is accurate. It's like 100% accurate from what I've observed. So if you are randomly going to call a meeting, you will get a handful of agents, probably the ones who always show up, who will show up. But if your agents know that they can time block and plan for meetings, they're more likely to engage. So I would say when it comes to team meetings or trainings, consistency is really the key. Who here has a training calendar that their agents can refer to? I think if you're a part of the locker room, inside of the toolkit, there is a training calendar that you can modify to add your own trainings. All of our trainings are already there. Open that up and use it and send it to your agents, because if they know when the trainings are ahead of time, like I said, then they can plan for it. So this is just one of those things that if you can get into the routine of being consistent and having a place where the agents can go to plan ahead of time, that's really important. How about community volunteering? I know that KW has Red Day. What are some things that we also could do as far as community volunteering as an office?
We do a monthly community service project. So we do something different every single month. This month it's Toys for Tots. Last month it was for a food pantry. We've done battered women's shelter supplies. We've done gift cards for foster kids. So we do something different each month. But even that, with COVID right now, we used to have an entire room full of toys when we collected Toys for Tots, and the box is pretty empty today. So it's it's been a little tougher getting them to participate in community service activities, where normally that's one of the things that I talk about in our recruiting, and they're like, I love that you do that once a month. But the participation in it has been really low since March. So
yeah, it's tough.
We used to get together, the first 10 people to volunteer out of the company, we'd cook a meal for the Ronald McDonald House monthly. But now, since February, the Ronald McDonald House hasn't allowed anybody to come in and cook.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. We had locally, TJ, Andy Azzarello does Stuff a Bus.
Yeah.
I was always really impressed by that, but I wonder how he'll do it this year. But he has not only just his agents, but also like the community and his past clients all bring a toy. And he has it, I don't know if it's a Centro bus or a school bus. I can't remember, but he stuffs the bus with stuff and then he donates it, which is just always a really cool thing, I think. But any kind of volunteering, I know that for Thanksgiving, there were several brokers who adopted a family as an office, or I think there was one broker who I think adopted 10 families. Who was that? It was someone at our office, wasn't it, TJ?
Oh, Kevin.
Was it Kevin?
Yeah.
He adopted 10 families. He did 10 Thanksgiving dinners.
And he wants to bring it to the company and do 100 for Christmas.
Awesome. It's so awesome. So any kind of community volunteering that you can do together, it just builds that bond between your agents. So if you have an agent who's really big into volunteering, or if you have an affiliation with some charity or something that's close to your heart, picking up the phone or calling or texting your agents, rather than just sending them a blanket email, if you invite them one at a time, I know it takes extra effort, but you're more likely to have engagement that way, and it really does bond them, because then they can look back on that memory and say like, oh, remember when we did this with Kevin and TJ and Reed and everybody? They won't leave, right? It won't matter if the other office offers them a higher split. It just won't matter. So how can we increase agent engagement? Quarterly calls. I think a lot of brokers do this even more than quarterly, just to check in on their agents, like, how's it going? Is there anything I can do to help you? Have you logged into the locker room? Have you taken one of the university classes? What did you think? Like, just a check-in, right? And it doesn't have to be anything specific. You don't have to teach them anything. You don't have to deliver them anything. You just call them just to say hi. Excuse me. Then you've got the handwritten notes. So handwritten notes, this is like a birthday card, anniversary card, something. I'm talking about anniversary of being at your office. Okay. So if they've been there for a year, send them a card, send them cookies, whatever. Happy hour, team building events. I mean, it's hard to do that. Like we said, you still can do them over Zoom. Field trips. Okay. So let's talk about field trips. I was talking to a broker, I want to say it was on Monday, and she was taking her group to a field trip to a new construction site. So a group of new agents, and she wanted them to see firsthand, what does the soffit look like? What does the foundation look like? And she wanted them to hear it from a builder. So she was taking them, and she, they were doing social distancing with the masks and everything, but they took a field trip to a construction site where the builder could teach them hands-on what each different thing looks like. She had said she intended to do that also for a home inspection. And I thought that was a really great idea. Why not take your new agents to a home inspection, as long as the seller and buyer are okay with it? I think it's a cool thing to do. So what are some other field trips that we could go on with our agents?
I think that outside of field trips for your agents, you could also use it as a recruitment tool. So I had an idea, and COVID crushed that very quickly, but there's an old abandoned castle on a private island up in A Bay. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Kristen, or not. But I wanted to rent out a massive bus and open it up to anybody, and our agents first and foremost, and then have people who from outside brokerages come and just, you make a day out of it, bring everybody out to lunch, and use it as a recruitment tool as well. And
That would be
obviously,
really
and
cool.
obviously retention with your agents. So
Yeah.
I like the idea of field trips.
So maybe in the spring. Fingers
Well,
crossed.
you have to get to the island from boat. So it wound up being a little bit more of an issue, but the idea was there.
I think it's cool. It's a great idea. Yeah, any kind of field trip, that's true. It doesn't have to be real estate related, right? It could just be a team building field trip. And you can use it to recruit. Top 20% luncheons. Okay, I have had a little bit of feedback or kickback from brokers about these, that it's expensive to take your top 20% out to lunch. Here's the thing. Your top 20% are making 80% of your profit, right? So it's okay to spend a little bit of money on them every month. And if you can't afford to take them out every month, take them out every quarter. It's just a lunch, right? It's just to appreciate their hard work and their effort. And it's probably 3 or 4 of the same agents every month or every quarter. And then you sprinkle some new ones in there too. Agents that are growing, agents that had a really great month. And then they feel honored to be with that group of top producers, right? The top 20% luncheons, like when the agents take pictures of that, like, oh, I'm at the top 20% lunch, they're doing that to humble brag on themselves. But when they post that on social media, it's also putting you as the broker in a really good position, right? Because then if there's an agent who's not getting that, what are they seeing? Oh, well, TJ takes his top 20% out to lunch. That's really nice, right? So do it. It's an easy thing. And how much does it really cost? In the long run, you're retaining your agents and you're attracting outside agents. So it's almost like you can't afford not to, in my opinion. And then the huddle. Okay, so if you've got team meetings or any kind of class going on and you record it, then you can watch it together as a recap. You can send out little clips of it in a weekly email, like just in case you missed the meeting, here's the nuts and bolts of it. I'm gonna give you a 5-minute clip, right? Make sure that you're recording the things that you do so you can send it out so that if an agent does miss out, they know where to go to still feel like they're engaged. So we have a 5-step retention plan. How am I doing? Am I losing anybody? Are we good? I want to talk about our retention plan. Number 1, offer guidance. Okay, this is like what I was saying. Call the agent and ask how you can support them. What's the worst case scenario? If you're just calling an agent to ask how they're doing and how you can support them.
The worst case scenario is that they say that you can't.
And then what?
I dig a little deeper, and then if they are actually moving along at their pace, then find something of value. There's always something that we can provide them. There's something.
Always something, right? And if they're truly coming from a victim mindset, like you can't support me, you can't help me, then maybe you can't. right? And maybe they need to move their seat on the bus or just get off. And that's a judgment call you have to make. But think about this is the worst case scenario. You get a little resistance from an agent. You deal with it. That's what leadership is, right? So call. Don't be afraid of your agents. This is the #1 way to keep them engaged. Okay, so when you call, reaffirm their commitment. Okay, not every broker does this, but if you sit down and talk to them about their goals, you can have them write that out. This is my commitment letter. This is what I'm going to commit to. I'm going to do an hour and a half of training every week. That's not too much to ask. That's half an hour for 3 days, right? I'm going to hold an open house every weekend until I get 3 buyers from them. You know, what is their commitment? Ask them what exactly they're going to be doing in order to propel them forward, okay? And then if you're part of the locker room, we have an activity called the apology letter, and we have an agent action plan workbook, and you can utilize those 2 things together to say, here are the goals we set. Here is the apology letter that you wrote if you weren't going to hit your goals. So why are you not engaging, right? Boom, boom, boom. And this is how we coach them back into production. If you're calling, express concern. Acknowledge that you care about the agent, that they're disengaged, and that you would really genuinely like to know if they're okay, right? This is not a call to say you haven't written a deal. This is not a call to make sure that you're not going to Century 21. This is a call to say, I haven't heard from you in 3 months. Are you okay? And I hope that you don't let it get to 3 months. That's a really long time, right? But if you are noticing that an agent is not engaged and they're not responding to texts or emails, or they're responding with maybe like 1 word, you know, or just they've had a change in behavior, it's okay to call them out on that, as long as you're doing it in a way that shows that you're concerned and that you're coming from curiosity and not judgment. Okay, so, and then expressing gratitude. If the agent is doing something that you are thankful for, tell them. I can't emphasize this enough. Gratitude will get you everywhere. First of all, it changes your perspective because you're thankful for the agents. They are putting money in your pocket, right? So being thankful for them rather than wishing they were selling more or wondering what they're doing tomorrow, or if they've even done an open house in like 10 months. You know, coming from gratitude instead will get you much farther. So sending a handwritten note or texting them, or you could even send them a little video, right? Like, hey, I just want you to know that I'm really thankful that you're a part of my world. And it makes a huge difference. It makes them feel good. It makes you feel good. It's just another way to bond with your agents. And then rallying the troops. If you can't get through to these agents, or if there's one agent that's just a trouble agent that you just feel like you're butting heads, you don't know what to do, you can't reach out to them, get an additional leadership member involved. If you don't have other leadership at your office, you can lean in on your locker room coaches. That's what we're here for. We're here to partner with you. You know, let us know, what can we do to support your agents? I do that with several of my brokers. If you have an agent that you just like, oh, you know, all it is a text. Kristen, call this agent for me. All right, cool, I'm on it. And the agent feels special too when they have an outside influencer calling them. Like, wow, you know, Brent just asked Kristen to call me, so Brent really cares about me, you know? And then that shifts. You won't feel that headbutting, that resistance anymore. Then the walls are down again, and you can get everywhere with that. So, you know, don't be afraid to ask for additional help. It just shows you care. What are some takeaways and ahas from today?
Catch it sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. Take action sooner than later too, right?
Right.
What else?
Yeah, this is really an offensive and defensive play. I mean, you got to run both sides of the game. You got to create the environment that encourages and increases the engagement, and then also be conscious and react to when engagement falls off. So you really got to look at both sides of the coin, so to speak.
Right. And to follow up with this, next week, Jake is talking about care and candor. And typically, care and candor is also a part of our retention conversation. But he is so passionate about the difference between a caring conversation and a candor conversation and how to unite them, that I wanted him specifically to teach it. So he's doing that at this time next week at the same link. So it's a follow-up to this. So this was part 1 of retention. That's part 2 of retention. So come to that, because it's just like you guys were saying, to take action sooner than later, and to just be aware, and to be aware of if your agents are engaged or not, and then how to approach them on it, right? You'll walk away from part 2 of this with our 5-step retention plan. We'll email that out to you so that you can have it to refer back to. And it's important to engage with your agents, especially this time of year. It's hard sometimes with the holidays and stuff, and especially with COVID, it's hard to keep your agents engaged. So hop on next week if you're available. Does anybody have questions?
I have a question. One of the ideas that I was looking at implementing in 2021 was a monthly, almost a pop by for my agents. You know, just a little goodie bag or something that's simple and a brief little message. Is anybody doing that for your agents? How frequently do you do it? What are some of the ideas?
I like the idea. I was actually going to mention earlier, there's a local company around us that actually goes and puts a little yard sign in the yard of their agents. It's like, you know, a superstar realtor lives here and we're proud of them. From the company. I thought that was really cool and cute, and an idea that I wish I thought of. So
that is really cute.
I have a broker partner here in the OKC area, and they're launching it first week of January. Rather than just mailing birthday cards, they found a cookie company that just does a wrapped small box of like 5 cookies, and it's very affordable. And then they have a couple of ambassadors, that's what they're calling them, and they're going to deliver the birthday card with the cookies as like the pop by. So that may be a system, Brent, that works, or, you know, centered around a birthday or something like that.
I had a question.
Okay.
So I run a team, and what happens on our team is we generally recruit brand new agents to the team, and they come in and we train them how to sell real estate, how to get successful, how to make this a living, make a living doing this. And what happens in that first year is they see incredible value from the team experience, but then they get up to selling 10, 20 houses, 30 houses a year in their second and third, fourth year. And at some point in time, they've plateaued. The value that the team offers in comparison to what they're paying in a split to the team, there's a threshold at which they go, you know, I'm going to go do this on my own because this is really expensive. And I'm just wondering what other people are doing that maybe run teams that are on the call here do to retain those agents once they now, maybe they're not perceiving as much value as they had in the beginning because they're established and they know how to lead generate, they know how to conduct a buyer consultation, a listing presentation, show houses, whatever. How do you keep those people engaged and around and add value to them?
So I have a question for you as far as the org structure of your team. I think I ran a team. And so from personal experience, I had a team of 6 agents and I was the team leader. And so what I realized with my own team is that there was not enough room for growth. So they would hit that plateau and then they could do it on their own. And then I had to go find 5 more agents. And it was a revolving door like that all the time. And I'm friends with all of them. You know, it was nothing personal, but it was like, I can do this on my own. So why am I giving you 40% or whatever? And I understood, but I wasn't thinking big enough, right? So for myself, personally speaking, all I saw was like, well, I run a team of agents. I didn't have a structure where maybe there could be one of them could grow into a spot where they're training the agents, or one of them could grow into a spot where they are a listing specialist, or, there are so many different little caveats in real estate that people can be good at. And I was very generically running a team. Like I wasn't thinking broadly. So if I were still to run a team, or if I were to run a brokerage where I was teaching teams or leading teams, I think my number one advice would be take a really good examination of your org chart and see if you can expand your own team so that there's room to grow, so that you can have like a leadership position within your team, So if yeah, Brent, go ahead.
Well, along with creating opportunity for people to grow into, one of the teams that I'm coaching, one of the strategies that they have used is they have a monthly service, a monthly something that they do, an active service. And so what they've done is they've identified what's passionate about each member of the team. So they've got 10 people on their team. And so they took, causes that were passionate to each member of the team. And 1 month they would do as a team, whatever they could do to support that particular cause. So it created that, everybody, the entire team was rallying around things that were important to each individual team member from a service and contribution perspective. And they made that the event of the month. And then of course the Rainmaker has 2 causes that they're passionate about. And so that rounds out the 12 months of some sort of giving, some sort of activity that they can be involved with from a service perspective.
And another thing you could do is just play with the numbers too. Like if a agent is on your team for 1 to 2 years, this is their split with the team. If they're on for another year, it bumps up, so that if they're loyal to you, yes, they're paying the team less, but also the idea is they'll stay, right? And so you'll continue to gain the market share and you'll grow as a team, and you can always continue to add new agents until you're 50 agents deep if you want to. But just playing with the numbers sometimes is helpful too.
Yeah, I've done that. We have a progressive split program where the more volume they do collect cumulatively over their lifetime on the team, their split goes down.
Yeah.
And I do have a couple agents of my experienced agents that I've got involved in leadership and mentorship. What's one thing we're bumping up against with those people is they're realizing that the amount of time and energy they put into mentorship their time is valuable. Yeah. And they can make a lot more money just closing another deal than helping me advance my cause as a mentor. I will say this, I think it was Laura that posted in the chat, recognition, bonuses, and like those kind of things. And I'm realizing that is an area that I've not been strong in with my top producers, is to really shower them with appreciation, acknowledgement, and probably, gifts, I guess is the word, prizes, those kind of things. That's a good point.
Well, I used to work on the largest team in my area, like the #1 team for multiple years. And one of the things that our team leader did often was a day at the spa, like just or she sent a housekeeper to the house, or, here's a gift card for $200 at the grocery store, like little things that obviously they could have bought themselves, but self-love when you're working at that level for someone else is difficult. And so little things that you can do, but recognition actually goes a lot farther than some gifts, especially when you're working so hard and not taking home the lion's share of the money. I think that is the part where a lot of people feel resentful, and that's where it starts to eke in, is because they're not feeling appreciated and recognized. So whatever way you can find to acknowledge really their selflessness to the team or their contribution to the team is probably the best way to make them feel special.
I appreciate that, because that's something that I'm not doing consistently. And the woman that's leading this event, what's your name? Not Jake.
Not Jake.
What's your name?
Kristen.
Kristen. As you were saying, since I've had my team, it's been that thing, bring in a batch of new agents, get them trained up, and then they rotate out. And I got to start over with another batch of new agents that may or may not succeed. Some of them sell houses and we make money, and some of them fade away. But I'm in that cycle, and I'm looking at other successful teams in my community, in my market, and then across the country. And I see that they are able to retain top producing agents. And I'm like, what's the magic? What is their secret sauce? How come I can't crack the code? That's why I'm on the call today. I saw I got the email and I'm like, I need help with this. I want to keep these, I don't want to invest all this time and money and effort into these agents and then have them 2 years in go, well, I can go sell real estate on my own. I'm trying to figure out what's missing from my formula.
Yeah. Are you having those one-on-one conversations with them? You
We do. We do have regular scheduled one-on-ones with the agents. Yeah.
Chuck, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, Tim, if I can offer this is from a different perspective. When I was in leadership within a brokerage up until 2020, I would have newer agents come to me and voice interest in wanting to go from a solo agent onto a team. And some of the questioning I would ask them is, basically, why is it desirable? What do you feel, why do you have this interest? And a lot of times they were very honest in that I feel it's a faster paced way of learning. I can serve a year or two and then I can be on my own. A question I would throw to some of them, because you can tell those that are more prideful and maybe they've had successes in previous careers or, in sports or whatever. And I would say, do you ever have a desire of having your own name on a sign, or are you okay always being under a team name? And if they said, oh no, no, it's not gonna be this way forever, I would say then out of respect, do not pursue a lead agent to be on their team. And so all that being said, sometimes it goes back to that initial interview and looking at some of their successes and maybe just figuring out a way to ask questions, just like I did, to really see why are they coming to a team? Mm-hmm. And what are they really seeing the value of in that team? And do they fit your culture? Just like others hire to a culture or mission, values, and beliefs of their brokerage, you're going to do that same to your team. And you may be surprised a couple of the answers you get there.
Tim, are you a part of the locker room yet?
I'm not.
So you know what I'm going to do? Drop your email in the chat box and I'm going to send you, it's what we call the Ideal Agent Avatar. It's just a little worksheet that you can do for yourself, but it helps you to narrow in on who is your ideal agent, because I think that that's really important. It piggybacks on what Chuck was saying. You don't want to necessarily have an agent taking a lead role in your team if they're planning on eventually checking out, right? So in that, it's an important thing. Do you want your name on your sign? Do you want that name brand recognition for yourself, or are you okay closing things out on the MLS under someone else's name as long as you're making money, right? And the other last thing I'll say about this is I think it really makes a difference if they have the same mission as you, right? So if they are of the same mindset and same culture, they value the same things as you, then you can connect in a way that's even outside of real estate. Like if you both have kids who play baseball, then you can sit at a little league game together, or if you, whatever it is, go fishing or anything. So figuring out if those agents can connect with you on a more personal level so that they just really will never want to leave. And then you can find something that's a community voluntary thing that's meaningful to you and everyone on your team, because you all share that same mission,
Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So I'll send that out to you. Does anyone else have any other questions? And Tim, come next week, because you'll want to be a part of the Karen Candor conversations too. All right, guys, well, I'll let you go. We are right at the top of the hour. I'm very thankful that you came today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. It's not Jake Dixon, it's Kristen at tlrnation.com. Okay.
Thanks,
all right, bye.